was always the person that like, I wanted to be financially well off. I wanted to have freedom. I wanted to have choices. And when I was in high school, I'm looking at like my parents or other people's parents and what they do for work. And well, they all went to college and they all hate their jobs. And so I'm like, how is this the best thing? So it made me question. And when I graduated high school, I stopped for a second. I remember being in a grocery store and I was like, wait, what am I going to do now? Like up to this point, we've been guided our whole life. We've always had teachers or our parents telling us what to do. And then in the United States, when you're 18, you're considered a legal adult, and now you're on your own. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? And I thought to myself, well, I know the things that I'm interested in. And ironically enough, they're not really taught in school. So I tried to figure out the best thing to do. I ended up going to a technical college for 4 months. And it was at that college where the biggest thing that I actually learned wasn't the actual thing I was going to school for. I learned more about people. And what I saw was a bunch of students that had very low-level dreams, low-level thinking, didn't apply themselves, didn't have work ethic. They were the opposite of what I stood for. And so I left, and I ended up living in my mom's basement for 2 months. I think that was January and February of 2013. I would have been 19 at that point. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And I ultimately wanted to build cars. I've always loved building cars, working on old cars, restoring them and things like that. And I was like, man, I just want to be able to do that. But if I go do that, I'll make $10 or $12 an hour to start off with. I'm like, that's not good enough for me. So I ended up finding a sales job on Craigslist. And I thought to myself, well, you know, I know a lot about cars and I can talk to people well. So why don't I go do sales?
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a job at Jack Carroll Skagit Hyundai in sales. I was there from February 11th, 2013 to November 4th, 2016, 3 years and 9 months. That was the best choice I could have made because it was kind of like going to school for 4 years, except I was really good at sales. I became the top guy. I was making $120,000 a year by the time I was 20, 21.
Wow.
And it taught me everything about business without having the risk of owning a business. How to build rapport, how to present a product, how to pitch an offer, how to understand what a buyer wants, how to overcome objections without actually owning the business and being responsible for everything at the end of the day. So that led me to go, wow, this is great, because at 20, making six figures is pretty damn good. I bought a house. I'm able to save a little bit of money. And then it just made me want more. I'm like, okay, well, who is the guy doing the best here? Well, that's the owner. And that guy's worth 30, 40 million probably. How do I be an owner? Or how do I get to that position? And I quickly realized that I'm only going to get allowed to go up the ladder to a certain extent. And at some point, I'm just going to have to take all the reins and go, okay, well, now I'm going to do everything myself. Because as long as you're working for somebody else and you're the kind of person that wants to work for yourself or be an entrepreneur or get to the top level, you're not going to do it if you're being commanded by somebody who's already at the top. Absolutely. So it made me go, all right, what do I do now? I need to start my own business. And that was about a year and a half, 2 years into that career where I started kind of seeing that. And then things sort of transitioned and I went through this huge growth period because I arrived at a point where I loved my sales job. I'm first there, last to leave every day. I'm learning so much. Like, I love it. And all of a sudden, that whole like, Ben, you need to start your own business started getting into the front of my brain. And all of a sudden, that sales job became a little less exciting, a little less. It was good. Then it was decent. Then it was okay. Then it's like, this kind of sucks, all the way to now I'm really freaking depressed.
Wow.
And that was the weirdest feeling to me because I'm not a person, I don't get depressed. I don't have depression problems. So to be there was really weird for me. And I was just trying to figure out a way out. I just was trying to figure out a way out. Nobody supported me. Nobody believed in me. Hey, you've got good things going. Don't quit. You're not going to make it. It's not going to work. It's too big of a risk. All that normal people bullshit. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's not helping me. That's not the right advice. So I ended up going, okay, what can I do? And I'd listen to Les Brown every day. Les Brown, the motivational speaker. And I actually had a buddy in the car business. His name's Aaron Hubbard, and he's actually in the book that I wrote, American Mediocrity.
Nice.
And Aaron was the only person that's like, dude, do it. What the fuck are you doing? Like, go do your thing. You're smart enough. You can figure it out. And he told me, listen to Les Brown. So I listened to him every day, every night on the way to and from work. And there was a quote he had that said, do what you can, where you are with what you have. And I thought, well, I have $1,800 and I want to build cars. I'm like, can I build cars with $1,800? No. So I thought, what can I do? Well, I can build parts for cars or motorcycles, custom parts. And I thought, well, I'll get a welder and an oxyacetylene torch. You use it to heat metal and you can bend metal with it. I still have those to this very day. And that allowed me to start my first business, Vulcan Customs, where I did metal fabrication primarily for motorcycles. I would make handlebars, backrests, shift linkage. And I started doing that. I started putting my products out on Instagram. And after a few months, it started to take off. I started making $3,000-$4,000 a month. That planted the seed in me. It just motivated me even more. And ultimately, I arrived at the point where it still wasn't enough, because $4,000 and having, you know, costs going into materials and stuff, I can't pay myself. And I'm like, I'm still stuck. And then Les Brown said something else. He said, it's a quote that rhymes. It's do or die, sink or swim. You have to put yourself in the position to win. So he's like, most people retreat. But when you put yourself in the position to win, where your back's against the wall and it's do or die, sink or swim, what ends up happening is you go into survival mode. You force yourself to produce when you take everything else away. So I was like, all right, I quit my job. I had no money in the bank. I had no idea really how I was going to do. I had some skill talking to people. I knew a little bit about Instagram now. I knew a little bit about online and websites and stuff. Had just this very basic knowledge in a few areas. I'm like, I'm done. So I quit. And that was November 4th, 2016. And I just sat on my living room floor. I didn't have any furniture. I had no money in the bank. I had about $4,000 in bills and a mortgage and all that stuff. And I just would stay up for 100 hours every single week at figuring out, okay, how can I do things for people online, products, services, build a website. Shit, I don't even really know how to build a website, but I'll tell somebody I know, get their money, learn on YouTube real quick or something, and then do the best I can. And that's what got me started. And then it became more formalized, and it turned into the business that I have today.
Wow. That's fantastic, man. You definitely, went through pretty much of a journey, and I love that you early on already had those big aspirations, because I believe that this is something that people nowadays do not really have, those huge ambitions which really force you to stretch and go outside of your comfort zone in order to be able to get to that stage. And this is, I believe that most people are afraid to be doing that, and being against the wall is always not really a nice position to be in, because it's scary, right?
Absolutely.
So how did you deal with that, being against the wall and sitting on your like living room floor and having all those bills coming up? Like what kind of mindset, or what was going through your mind during that time?
Well, I've never been a quitter, and I've never thought that quitting or giving up is an option.
Yeah.
So that was never it. But I looked at all these, lifestyle videos of people making money online or whatever that meant. I still didn't even really know what that meant. But I saw people, the typical thing that would normally sell a young millennial, the Lamborghini and traveling and the drone footage of going to Thailand and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to experience things. I want to go places. I want to have freedom. I want to create something where I truly have freedom and I can do what I want to do. And, I'm still working toward that. It's still it's not ever going to be where, I want it to be. I don't think it is for any entrepreneur. You get to a goal and then you're like, okay, well, now I need another goal. So it's always for me been like, how far can I push myself? How much can I do? I know that at any point in my life to this point, I've not lived to my full potential. There's so much I can do. I'm not operating at the top level that I can operate at, and I'm never going to. It's always just going to continue to improve as long as I keep putting the work in. So for me, it was like anytime it got hard, go back to what's the goal? What's the why? What am I going to feel like when I achieve all of this? What's it going to do for my life? What kind of impact can it leave for other people? And so it was all about that. And I find fulfillment, and I found massive fulfillment actually figuring out how to make money myself without some sort of infrastructure that society has laid out, saying that you got to show up at 9, you got to work 4 hours, then take a 20-minute break. And then, you know, you'll get this certain paycheck every week. And if you do good, you'll get a Christmas bonus. Yeah. So it was always not wanting to go back to that and not accepting that, and not wanting to ever be in a position again where my lifestyle, the things I can do, the people I can help is dictated by some asshole that says I'm worth $11 an hour. Yeah. Right. Sure.